Welcome to PointWise's Tutorial Tuesday, where we show you how to use a feature or demonstrate a technique in just a couple of minutes. Today is the first video on the size field calculation method. When you select an unstructured block, you can go to Grid, Solve, and click the Size Field tab, and you get met with some information. If you click the drop-down menu next to the calculation, you have 4 options. Today we're going to discuss 2 of those options, minimum distance and inverse distance. If you go to the PointWise user manual, you'll get a pretty in-depth discussion of how these things are calculated. I'll try and break it down very quickly here. When calculating the local edge length at any given point, the nearest 500 points for spacing are considered. Those points can come from sources, the background spacing, or grid entities. Minimum distance will only use the point that is closest in proximity, while inverse distance will use multiple points and a weighted average to calculate the spacing. So what does this look like in practice? I have here 2 identical blocks. The only difference is the size field calculation method. I'll select them both and click Initialize. A little over a minute later, they've both initialized, and what are the results? Before I talk about the results, you can see each block has 5 sources. The yellow sources each have a spacing of 15, while the red ones have a spacing of 2.5. This means there should be much tighter spacing, which means much lower volumes in these red portions. Block 1, which is the block on the right that used inverse distance, only has 3.9 million cells. Block 2, which used minimum distance, has 4.5 million cells. That's a difference of 600,000 cells, and let's see what that looks like when we go to examine. If I place a cut, I'll turn off sources to make it a little bit easier. You can see that through the center of the block, which is where this cut is, that the volumes are much smaller for the inverse distance rather than the minimum distance. But how does this affect if we change the algorithm of the blocks? To do that, I'll go to Grid, Solve, and change the attribute from Delaunay to Voxel for the algorithm, and now we can initialize. Okay, now those have stopped initializing. Let's change the function down here to volume and look at these. You'll notice, let me turn off sources again, you'll notice with voxels, it's much closer to being almost the same mesh. Sure enough, if we actually look at the total cell count, they're much closer in value. If you like this video, be sure to click the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. If you have any questions or comments or ideas for future videos, drop us a line down below or connect with us on Twitter, which is linked in the description. Thank you all. Have a pleasant Tuesday.